Good afternoon, my dear students. I was checking the homework from completing the square that few students has already sent me, and I see that they're making a little mistakes. So what I'm going to do is for the kids who haven't submitted the homework yet, this is the first lesson for Monday, completing the square, okay? That take these problems in consideration, because if you're getting confused, I'm going to explain to you now on a better way, so you can have a better shot to get the question right. For the kids who already submit the homework, you can just practice on your own. You don't have to send it to me, but at least it will help you to see what mistakes you guys did. So completing the square, remember, completing the square is the only method when you don't have to have the equation in standard form. So that means that the constant value has to be on the right side of the equation. So I have three problems that I made for you already. This one is halfway done. So what you do first is you move the 4 to this side, okay, and that becomes positive. Once you do that, remember, you have to add the formula b over 2 squared in both sides. And remember, b here is 6, okay? So if that will make, if you divide 6 divided by 3, that will give you 2, will give you 9, all right? But anyway, because you end up with a fraction or something, it's right here. They're making the extra process that I'm not doing it. I do it separate, all right? Remember, if I do this, that will be 6 divided by 2 squared, okay? And 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 3 squared equals 9. So what I did is, instead of doing it over here, I do it on the side. But you can do it like that too. So the way I taught it before, it was just like doing this step on the side. So what I did is, I did that, okay? And I came out with this. So plus 9 and plus 9 in both sides. If you want to do it that way, you can do it that way too, all right? So when you do that, okay, that becomes a perfect square trinomial. You keep the x, all right? You keep the plus sign, and half of 6 is 3. Then you square that on both sides, and that should be equals to 13. Now, from here, okay, that's called, guys, vertex form that we're going to learn down the road. But now if I ask you to find the roots, what do? You square root both sides, right? And that becomes this part right here, okay? So what will you do then? You will have left x plus 3 equals plus minus radical 13, all right? Then you do minus 3, and you'll get x equals negative 3 plus minus radical 13. That is the roots, okay, in simple radical form. Okay. Now, they also might ask you on the test on the regions that give you roots as a decimal, right? In this case, I'm gonna write the roots r to the nearest thousand, okay? So if I'm gonna do the roots to the nearest thousands, that means 3 places after the decimal point. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna split my root, okay, from here. I write x equals negative 3 plus radical 13, and I do x equals negative 3 minus radical 13. So if I put that in the calculator, it will give me 0.6055. The reason why I'm doing that, so you can remember how to round. So the nearest thousands here will be this value of 5. And because the one next to is another 5, that 5 becomes 6. So when I round it to my nearest thousand, the question is 0.606. Same thing with the next one. When you put on the calculator, you will get negative 6.6055. And because I run into the nearest thousandth, 3 places after the decimal point, that becomes 6 because the one next to it is 5. And that's my rule. It says if it's 5 greater than 5, it goes up 1. So you have my 2 roots, okay? Now these ones are in decimal form, which is to the nearest thousandth. On a test, they might ask you to do it to the nearest hundredth, which it will be here, or to the nearest tenth, all right? So remember, this is just for you guys to practice. So I'm doing this because I'm seeing a lot of, not a lot, but I'm seeing like few mistakes on your homework, okay? So this is a reinforcement. You don't have to do anything, you just have to go over. And for the people who hasn't done the homework yet, please take this notes in consideration. So now let's do the back. In the back, I have another two problems. If you notice, the first part is already done for you. This is the original problem right here, okay? X squared plus 10x minus 3. The first thing you have to do is move the constant to the right hand side. So the negative 3 becomes plus 3. See, this is what I'm talking about. In Apex, because I got this from Apex, in Apex, they do the process in the equation, okay? Like, you know, like they add b divided by 2 squared in the same process. What I did with you in class is I did it separate. Like, let's say if you don't want to do this, you know, what you will do is, you will do, this is b, right? You will do 10 over 2 squared. That gives you 5, and 5 squared equals 25. So this is where the 25 come from. In my lesson, I did this part, I did it separate. I didn't do it in the equation like the way they're doing it here. But if you want to do it like that, that should be fine. But remember, once you get to this point, you have to do that. You can do it like I say, like the way I'm doing it or the way they do it in the lesson. But at the end, we come out with the same thing, okay? That becomes a perfect square trinomial. Let me cover this. And remember, you keep the x, right? You keep the sign, and you divide that by 2, which is 5, and you square it, you know, and that becomes a perfect square trinomial, equals 28, which is 3 plus 25. Now, I continue down this way, all right? Because this is what you already have, okay? So I just want to explain to you where did this come from. It's the same thing I did before in the lesson, all right? So now we're going to pick it up from here. Now let me find the roots, okay? Now the roots of that quadratic equation, I have to solve for x. So I just recopy this, all right? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve for x. So this first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to square it, right? And that becomes x plus 5 equal plus minus radical 28. Remember, and to solve for x, I do minus 5, and x becomes negative 5 plus minus radical 28. This is correct, guys, okay? This is correct if they don't ask you to simplify. But we're going to do all three ways now. This is the final answer at one point. But if they ask you to do it in simple radical form, then you have to simplify the 28th. Remember, 28th is divisible by 4, which is the larger perfect square that divides it. So the square root of 4 is 2, and we keep the 7. Some students in the homework, you know, forgot to find the square root of 4 and wrote 4 radical 7. So that's not how it is, all right? So what you do is you find the square root of the number, and that should be your answer. So your answer in simple radical form should be x equals negative 5 plus minus 2 radical 7. This is in simplest radical form. Okay, that will be another way to write the answer. Okay, so we have three choices. This is choice 1, this is choice 2, and now I have a choice 3. Choice 3 is as decimal. Remember, just to practice, we're going to round it to the nearest thousandth. But they can ask you to the nearest hundredth, to the nearest tenth, or to, you know, and you have to know how to round. So to the nearest thousandth, what I did is, right, I just split my roots. So I wrote negative 5 plus 2 radical 7 and negative 5 minus 2 radical 7. And I just put that in the calculator. So what happened? Because I rounded to the nearest thousandth, I have to have 4 digits after the decimal point so I can round correctly. So when I do that, I come out with 0.2915. Now the nearest thousandth is the 1, and because the 1 next to the 1 is 5, that 1 becomes 2. So my first root should be 0.292. Same thing with the next one. When I put in the calculator, I come out with negative 10.2915. Here the 1 is the thousandth, and because the 1 next to is 5, so that means it's going to go up. So the next root will be negative 10.292. So that should be my third choice. This will be as a decimal, okay? So choice 1, choice 2, and choice 3. Remember, guys, you have to read in which form they ask you to give out your final answer. So read the problem correctly. And I'm going to do one more, okay? This one is a little fraction, but I want you to become familiar with the fractions. In this one, It's the same thing, okay? Let me just try to make it a little more so I can see the whole thing. All right, here, as you can see, let me just fold the page. Sorry guys, let me just fold it. It will be nicer. So look what happened here. The original problem is x squared minus 7x minus 1. First thing, okay? Move the negative 1 to this side, remember. And like I told you before, they calculated b divided by 2 squared into the problem, into the process. But remember, the way I did it in class, I just did it on the side, okay? But anyway, this problem is given to you this way, up till here. So remember, to eliminate the square, the exponent, you're gonna square root both sides. Unfortunately here, 4 is a perfect square, but 53 is not perfect square. So you're just gonna leave it like that. So I will have left x minus 7 equal plus minus radical 53 over 4. Then I do plus 7, and then I do plus 7, and I will have left x equal 7 plus minus radical 53 over 4. All right, that will be my answer in simplest radical form. Okay, now, but just to practice, all right, we're going to do it as a decimal. And if I'm going to write it as a decimal to the nearest thousand, because I picked thousand because in the regions I'm seeing that that's the place that they ask you to round. So I'm going to continue here, and I'm just going to split. Okay, I'm going to split my x's. This is positive 7, one is plus, one is minus, and I do this, and I do this one here too. Now I'm going to do, I just put it in the calculator. When you put it in the calculator, you get 10.6400. And because the nearest thousand is this one, and the one next to is less than 5, so it's going to remain the same. So my first root is going to be 10.10640. Now, with the next one, it gives me 3.3599. This is a tricky one, remember that, because the one next to is a 9, and this is a 9 also. Now we're going to add 1 to this one, but you're not going to write 3.3510, because that won't be to the nearest thousand. So what happens is you're going to add the 1 to this one, okay? And that becomes 10, and this becomes 6. So actually, your root is 3.360. Remember, if they ask you to the nearest thousand, that means just 3 places after the decimal point. If you put 3, 5, 10, you gave me 4 digits, so it's going to be wrong. So that will be the roots as decimals to the nearest thousands. I just hope that these 3 problems will clarify more, and now you feel more comfortable to do your homework. Please, I'm not going to do the same thing with the quadratic formula. I'm going to see how's everybody doing with that homework. But I think completing the square was a little more difficult. That's why I'm throwing this in there. Guys, thank you very much. Use it. Stay healthy. Stay safe. Have a good evening.